You were not born to drift through life as a leaf in the wind. You were born to steer, to command, to direct your own forces toward a definite end. Time, the invisible currency of existence, is slipping through your fingers each second, and yet most men treat it as though it were endless. They chase distractions, surrender to moods, and let circumstance determine their fate. But there comes a moment in the life of every serious thinker, every builder of destiny, when he must confront this truth. If you do not master your mind, your emotions, and your hours, you will spend your life serving those who have. Success is never accidental. It is the direct outcome of deliberate control of time, thought, and self. The world belongs not to the reactive, but to the deliberate. Those who act on purpose, with discipline and precision, become the architects of civilization. Those who drift, react, and follow impulse become its laborers, its spectators, its forgotten souls. It is not intelligence that separates these two classes of men. It is discipline, the ability to command oneself when emotion would prefer indulgence, when comfort would prefer delay, when doubt would prefer retreat. The tragedy of wasted time is not that hours are lost, it is that potential dies. Every hour surrendered to distraction is a seed of greatness left unplanted, a chapter of destiny left unwritten. If you wish to begin winning, you must first learn to stop wasting. For no man can build a cathedral while scattering his bricks. The first law of success is order. Where there is chaos in the mind, there will be confusion in the life. Where there is discipline in the thought, there will be power in the act. Every triumph in history, whether carved in stone, written in ink, or recorded in glory, began as an idea mastered, guarded, and directed by a disciplined mind. That discipline begins with one eternal decision. I will no longer be a slave to my moods. I will no longer serve distraction. I will no longer squander the divine resource called time. To master your life, begin by mastering your hours. But to master your hours, you must first master yourself. You cannot discipline your schedule until you discipline your emotions. You cannot command your focus until you command your reactions. You cannot build an empire of achievement upon a foundation of emotional chaos. The average man lives by reaction. He rises when forced, works when pushed, and quits when tired. The successful man lives by intention. He rises by decision, works by design, and endures by purpose. The difference is not fate, it is control. Control is the unseen essence of greatness. It is the silent force that separates the man who finishes from the man who starts. It is the root of emotional detachment, that rare quality that allows a man to act with reason when others are ruled by passion, to think clearly when others drown in confusion, to pursue his purpose when others chase approval. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is mastery. It is the art of remaining calm when the storm rages, of responding with power when the world demands reaction, of holding vision when others see only noise. It is the secret foundation of all true success, for no man can rule his world until he rules his inner one. Let us be honest. Most failures are not destroyed by enemies, but by emotion. They lose their temper, their patience, their confidence, their composure, and with it, their direction. They allow criticism to paralyze them, fear to limit them, pleasure to distract them. They mistake movement for progress and busyness for purpose. They confuse emotional indulgence with authentic living. They live in reaction instead of design. They waste their time not because they have little of it, but because they lack the discipline to use it. Time, like wealth, obeys the law of use. Whatever is invested grows. Whatever is wasted decays. When you spend an hour in worry, that hour produces nothing. When you invest it in planning, study, or deliberate action, it compounds. The law of time is impartial. It rewards precision and punishes negligence. To the undisciplined, time is an enemy, always escaping, always insufficient. To the disciplined, time is an ally, multiplying every act of focus into success. The wise man learns that his power does not lie in having more time, but in commanding the time he has. You must understand, time will not wait for you to be ready. Opportunity will not knock twice. The universe rewards the man of decision, the one who acts now, who thinks clearly, who moves deliberately. Every second of hesitation is a second surrendered to someone else's agenda. The difference between a master and a wanderer is not talent, but decisiveness. The wanderer dreams, the master acts. The wanderer reacts, the master responds. The wanderer feels, the master thinks. And thought, directed by purpose, is the highest weapon of human power. To stop wasting time is to begin mastering the art of thinking first. This is the first great principle: thought before emotion. Emotion is energy, thought is direction. When energy moves without direction, it destroys. When energy moves through purpose, it builds. You must become the engineer of your emotional machinery to know that anger, fear, and desire are not enemies but raw materials. They are forces meant to serve your design, not dictate it. He who learns to think before he feels, and to feel only after he has thought, becomes unstoppable. For he no longer fights the world, he governs himself, and therefore governs all that follows. Ask yourself now, how many of your decisions have been born from reaction, not reflection? How many times have you surrendered your power to the mood of the moment? How many times have you postponed the essential because your emotions whispered, "Not today"? Each hesitation, each indulgence, each surrender of will is a theft against your future. The man who cannot say no to his impulses will never say yes to his destiny. To master your emotions is not to suppress them, it is to channel them. Control is not resistance, it is direction. Napoleon once said, "The man who can control his emotions can control an empire." He understood that armies, nations, and empires crumble when leaders react instead of reason. The same law governs your personal empire, your time, your health, your relationships, your wealth. If you are ruled by feeling, you will fall by it. But if you are guided by principle, you will rise above circumstance. Every emotion can be transmuted into fuel for action, anger into determination, fear into preparation, doubt into clarity, sadness into understanding. This is emotional alchemy, the art of transforming inner chaos into outward power. When you waste time, you waste the chance to build that power. Each moment lost to distraction is a brick removed from the foundation of your future. You cannot afford to live as if life were rehearsal. It is not. You are performing before eternity, every thought recorded, every action compounded, every habit sculpting the architecture of your destiny. Success is not a gift. It is the inevitable result of disciplined thought over time. And time, used with purpose, becomes your servant. But time wasted in reactivity becomes your master. The second great law of mastery is what I call the law of mental neutrality, the power to remain centered while the world swings between extremes. The average person lives on the pendulum of reaction. When life flatters him, he rises to arrogance. When it criticizes him, he collapses into despair. When events favor him, he rushes with blind confidence. When obstacles arise, he withdraws into fear. He is never stable, never centered, never in control. His moods govern his movements. His emotions dictate his destiny. But the disciplined mind stands unmoved, calm as the eye of the storm. It neither exalts nor collapses. It observes, calculates, and acts. This is mental neutrality, the art of keeping the mind balanced while emotion demands exaggeration. To achieve this, one must understand a truth that few are ready to accept. Most suffering is not caused by events, but by interpretation. It is not what happens that disturbs a man, but what he tells himself about what happens. The undisciplined mind dramatizes pain, magnifies offense, and invents meanings that destroy peace. The neutral mind does not deny reality. It interprets it with accuracy, not emotion. It asks, "What is this? What can be learned? How shall I respond?" That simple shift from reaction to reflection marks the beginning of mastery. Think of the mind as a scale. On one side rests emotion, on the other thought. When emotion outweighs reason, judgment is lost. When reason outweighs emotion, power is cold. True mastery lies in balance. You must feel enough to be alive, but think enough to be wise. To live in mental neutrality is to rise above the drama of circumstance, to see things as they are, not as your fears or desires would prefer them to be. It is to say, this too is part of the process, and then move forward with precision. No man becomes great while fighting his emotions on the surface. The wise man learns to descend beneath them, to understand their origin, and to redirect their energy toward purpose. Every feeling is a signal, not a command. Anxiety means the mind is focused on uncertainty instead of preparation. Anger means expectation has collided with reality. Envy means attention has strayed from your own path to another's. Each emotion, properly understood, reveals where discipline must be applied. Instead of suppressing the feeling, trace it back to its cause, correct the thought, and restore balance. The disciplined man does not waste time fighting himself. He uses self-knowledge to free his energy for creation. Those who fail to cultivate neutrality live in the bondage of extremes. They celebrate too early and quit too soon. They depend on praise to begin and on comfort to continue. They ride emotional waves until they are broken by them. But the disciplined thinker walks upon the waters of emotion. He does not drown in the tides of approval or rejection. His vision remains steady. His pace remains consistent. His heart beats in rhythm with his purpose, not with the noise of the crowd. This is the posture of the successful mind, poised, observant, and deliberate. When life hurls chaos, he remains still. When opportunity appears, he acts without haste. When others panic, he plans. When others doubt, he decides. This calmness is not weakness, it is precision. The calm mind wastes no energy on confusion. It converts every challenge into data. It sees every failure as a lesson in disguise. It observes, calculates, and advances. The man who can remain calm when others lose their minds becomes the one others follow. Calmness is the third law. The power of calmness for calmness is strength under control. The most dangerous man is not the loudest but the quietest. The loud man needs attention. The calm man has direction. The loud man reacts. The calm man decides. The loud man fights to prove. The calm man acts to achieve. Calmness is not the absence of fire. It is fire governed by order. It is the ability to direct your intensity toward results instead of reactions. Every great general, every leader, every builder of empires has known this truth. The calm mind wins the long game. When emotion erupts, it blinds judgment. When calmness reigns, vision clears. You cannot command men, money, or momentum if you cannot command yourself. To rule an empire, you must first rule your breath. Each deep breath taken in chaos reclaims ownership of the moment. For the man who breathes deeply while others panic is already half victorious. Understand this. The calm mind sees patterns invisible to the restless. It observes what others overlook. It notices the hidden structure beneath disorder. While the crowd reacts to surface changes, the calm mind perceives the underlying law. This allows it to act not in frenzy but in strategy. That is why the calm man rises where the restless fall. His detachment gives him foresight. His composure gives him accuracy. His patience gives him endurance. These are the currencies of power. To stop wasting time, you must learn to act with this inner stillness. Waste occurs not only in idle hours, but in scattered energy. You waste time every time you overthink, overreact, or overindulge. You waste time every time you fight battles that do not matter or defend egos that do not serve your mission. The disciplined man asks of every situation, is this essential? Will this move me closer to my definite purpose? If the answer is no, he withdraws his energy immediately. This is not coldness, it is clarity. The undisciplined mind burns its strength on trivialities. The master reserves it for victory. One of the most fatal habits of the unsuccessful is emotional expenditure without outcome, endless argument, resentment, gossip, and self-pity. These are the leaks through which greatness drains. The truly great never fight to prove themselves. They act to improve themselves. They do not complain about obstacles, they study them. They do not indulge in the comfort of sympathy, they build the strength of solitude. The disciplined man wastes nothing, not his words, not his emotions, not his hours. If you wish to build mental discipline, begin by mastering response over reaction. Reaction is the reflex of weakness. Response is the act of strength. Reaction is immediate, emotional, impulsive. Response is deliberate, calm, and intelligent. Reaction is how animals survive. Response is how humans rise. The man who reacts is ruled by the external. The man who responds governs from within. Every time you pause before acting, every time you breathe before speaking, every time you think before judging, you reclaim power. Power is the capacity to choose your direction instead of being dragged by circumstance. Now let us examine a deeper law, the principle of thought first. Every emotion, every decision, every action begins as a thought. To change behavior, you must first reform thinking. To reform thinking, you must take charge of attention. Attention is the gateway to destiny. Whatever captures your attention captures your life. Most people allow their attention to be hijacked by noise, endless entertainment, comparison, worry, but the successful man guards his attention as a king guards his treasury. He decides what enters his mind, because he knows that what enters the mind will eventually exit as action. Think of your mind as fertile soil. Every thought is a seed. The soil does not discriminate. It will grow whatever you plant, weeds or wheat, failure or fortune. If you plant distraction, you harvest confusion. If you plant resentment, you harvest stagnation. If you plant definite purpose, you harvest power. The mind obeys its master, whether that master is deliberate or negligent. Most men have never appointed a master over their thoughts, and so their minds are ruled by habit, emotion, and external influence. But once a man assumes command of thought, he becomes the architect of every outcome. To think first is to slow down the inner storm long enough to choose the right direction. It is to stand guard at the gates of the mind and permit only those ideas that serve your definite purpose. It is to remind yourself daily that emotion is temporary, but consequence is permanent. This simple law separates the successful from the average. The successful think before feeling. The average feel before thinking. When you rise each morning, you face two worlds, the inner and the outer. The outer world is noise, opinions, distractions, demands. The inner world is silence, intention, and vision. The undisciplined man begins his day reacting to the outer messages, problems, gossip, uncertainty. The disciplined man begins by establishing command over the inner. He sits in silence, defines his priorities, and sets his mental temperature for the day. He does not ask, "What do I feel like doing?" He declares, "What I must do, I will do." Emotion follows command. This is how you stop wasting time by refusing to be ruled by the spontaneous. You must become deliberate in every dimension. Think before speaking, plan before moving, and decide before feeling. Each thought must pass the test of purpose. Does this serve my mission? Does it build or drain? Does it strengthen or weaken? Every answer defines your future. The man who disciplines his thoughts disciplines his destiny. The next law of mastery is definiteness of purpose. Without purpose, discipline decays. Without a central aim, time scatters. A man without purpose is like a ship without a rudder, moved by every wind, lost to every tide. But the man with purpose commands the winds themselves. He knows where he is going, and thus every storm becomes an ally. The clearer the purpose, the stronger the focus. The stronger the focus, the greater the power. Definiteness of purpose is the compass of all discipline. It gives meaning to sacrifice and direction to thought. It transforms effort into destiny. To possess definiteness of purpose is to declare to the universe, "This is who I am, this is what I will accomplish, this is what I will give in return." That declaration rearranges your subconscious mind. It filters distractions, aligns emotion, and magnetizes opportunity. Most people drift not because they lack time, but because they lack direction. They spend their energy chasing multiple goals and achieving none. The disciplined man channels all energy toward one grand aim, and thus time becomes his ally. Your purpose must be definite, written, and emotionally charged. You must know not only what you want, but why you want it. Desire is the engine. Purpose is the wheel. Without the wheel, energy spins in place. With it, energy moves forward with precision. Purpose transforms chaos into clarity. It tells you what to ignore, what to pursue, and when to endure. When purpose leads, emotion follows like a trained servant. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. It is the invisible cord that ties vision to victory. Without it, every dream dissolves under the heat of distraction. With it, even the smallest intention becomes inevitable. Discipline is not punishment, it is power. It is the deliberate training of the mind to obey the command of purpose rather than the impulse of mood. The average man waits to feel ready before acting. The disciplined man acts, and readiness follows. The undisciplined man serves emotion. The disciplined man commands it. He understands that emotion is a wonderful servant, but a tyrannical master. You must recognize that discipline is not developed in comfort, but in conflict. It is not born in ease, but in effort. Every time you act against your lesser nature, every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you say no to indulgence and yes to purpose, you are forging the chain of mastery. Discipline grows stronger each time you exercise it. It decays each time you neglect it. Like a muscle, it must be worked daily or it withers. The undisciplined man thinks discipline is deprivation. He imagines he is losing pleasure, freedom, or rest. But in truth, he is gaining control, expansion, and peace. Freedom without discipline is slavery to impulse. Only the disciplined are truly free, for they command themselves. They can say, "I will," and it becomes reality. They can say, "I won't," and temptation bows before them. Discipline is the proof that a man is master of his own soul. Observe how nature itself rewards discipline. The river carves valleys not through force, but through persistence. The seasons arrive not by chance, but by law. The seed bears fruit not through emotion, but through silent consistency. The universe itself is built on disciplined patterns, order, rhythm, law. To align with discipline is to align with nature's own intelligence. To resist it is to resist growth. Discipline transforms time from a burden into an instrument. To the undisciplined, time is a tyrant, always chasing, always scolding, always vanishing. To the disciplined, time is an obedient servant. Each hour becomes a soldier marching toward victory. The man who plans his day, guards his attention, and acts on purpose multiplies the value of his time. He achieves in 1 year what the drifter could not achieve in 10. For time, like capital, yields return only when wisely invested. But how does one maintain discipline in the face of fatigue, doubt, and delay? The answer lies in autosuggestion, the deliberate repetition of chosen thought until it reshapes belief. The subconscious mind, that silent giant within you, responds not to logic but to repetition. It believes whatever it hears most often. The weak man allows his mind to repeat words of limitation. "I can't," "I'm tired," "I'll try," "maybe later." The strong man replaces them with words of power. "I will," "I must," "I can." And the mind, hearing the new command often enough, begins to obey it. Autosuggestion is the art of planting deliberate seeds in the garden of your subconscious. Every thought you repeat is a seed. Every emotion attached to that thought is the water that makes it grow. If you wish to harvest greatness, you must first sow greatness in thought. Speak to yourself as a leader would to his army with authority, conviction, and purpose. Say daily, "I am the master of my time. I am calm under pressure. I think before I act. I act with precision. I will not be ruled by emotion. I will not waste the sacred hours given to me. My thoughts are disciplined. My actions are deliberate. My destiny is certain." Through repetition, these declarations penetrate the subconscious until they become automatic. You begin to act as you think, and think as you command. This is how belief is built, not by mere hope, but by deliberate mental training. As you condition your mind, your emotions follow, your actions align, and your results multiply. The law is simple. Whatever dominates the mind in time will dominate the life in fact. Most men never speak consciously to themselves. They let random thoughts dictate their inner dialogue. They rehearse failure before it happens, fear before it arrives, exhaustion before it begins. The subconscious, obedient and neutral, accepts these as orders and carries them out. The disciplined man refuses such negligence. He programs his mind as an engineer, programs a machine with precision, clarity, and purpose. He refuses to let inner chaos dictate outer life. Autosuggestion is not fantasy, it is focus. It is the deliberate imprinting of the mind with the pattern of success. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity breeds belief. Belief creates behavior. Behavior creates destiny. You are already using autosuggestion, whether consciously or unconsciously. Every time you say, "I can't focus," you are commanding your mind to scatter. Every time you say, "I always procrastinate," you are strengthening that pattern. The disciplined man reverses the process. He uses the same law intentionally. I am focused. I am efficient. I am relentless. And the subconscious, hearing the voice of authority, responds accordingly. But remember, autosuggestion is only as powerful as the discipline behind it. To repeat words without conviction is to whisper to the wind. You must believe what you say, or at least act as if you believe it, until belief takes root. Faith is born of repetition plus action. Speak your affirmations, then act upon them. Each action reinforces belief. Each belief reinforces action. In time, the two become one, and discipline becomes your second nature. To master autosuggestion is to take control of the silent conversation that shapes your destiny. Most people lose their day before it begins because their first thoughts are weak. They wake with complaint instead of gratitude, with confusion instead of clarity, with hesitation instead of command. But the disciplined individual begins each morning with intentional words. He dictates his state, he commands his energy, he establishes his vibration. By the time others are looking for motivation, he is already in motion. Now we come to another pillar of mastery, the conversion of emotion into power. All emotion is energy. All energy can be transmuted. Anger, fear, frustration, and even sadness can be converted into the fuel of progress if you know how to redirect them. The undisciplined man suppresses emotion or explodes under it. The disciplined man channels it. He understands that emotional energy is neutral until directed. When you feel anger, pause and ask, "What desire within me has been frustrated?" Then channel that fire into preparation, focus, or correction. When you feel fear, ask, "What uncertainty am I magnifying?" Then use that awareness to prepare more thoroughly. When you feel envy, ask, "What desire is this emotion revealing?" Then channel it into ambition, into action, into creation. Every emotion carries a message and a power. The master reads the message and uses the power. No man can become strong by avoiding feeling. He becomes strong by mastering it. Strength is not numbness. Strength is control. The calm leader does not lack emotion. He directs it with intelligence. He knows that the same energy that destroys one man can elevate another depending on how it is used. Fire can burn or forge. Emotion can enslave or empower. The choice is direction. When Napoleon Hill wrote, "You have absolute control over only one thing, your thoughts," he revealed the axis upon which all success turns. For when you control your thoughts, you control your emotions. When you control your emotions, you control your behavior. When you control your behavior, you control your results. And when you control your results, you control your destiny. The chain of causation begins in the mind. Therefore, stop wasting time fighting circumstances. Circumstances are reflections, not causes. If you wish to change the reflection, alter the thought that produced it. The successful man does not curse the mirror for showing fatigue. He rests, refocuses, and resumes. Likewise, do not curse your results. They are accurate reflections of your current mental discipline. Adjust the cause and the effect will obey. Understand this. Emotional detachment is not indifference. It is intelligence. It is the recognition that to be effective, you must not be entangled. You cannot fight effectively when you are entangled with your own emotion. Detachment is stepping back far enough to see clearly, to decide correctly, to act efficiently. The soldier who panics loses aim. The entrepreneur who fears loses vision. The thinker who clings to outcome loses perspective. Detachment restores clarity, and clarity is the foundation of power. The man who is detached can plan his future without anxiety and act without hesitation. He can fail without despair and succeed without arrogance. He is unmoved by temporary loss and uncorrupted by temporary gain. For he understands that both are part of the process, tools of evolution, not verdicts of fate. He walks in calm dominion because he knows that the only real battle is within. Accurate thinking is the highest discipline of the mind. It is the crown of all other virtues, for without it, even discipline can be misdirected. The mind that cannot distinguish truth from illusion, fact from interpretation, will forever waste its effort chasing shadows. Accurate thinking is the ability to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be, not as we fear them to be, but as they are. It is the science of precision applied to thought, the refusal to let emotion distort perception. The majority of people think reactively, not accurately. Their thoughts are not examined, they are inherited, they do not reason, they repeat. They are influenced by gossip, trends, moods, and the opinions of others. Their conclusions are not built on logic, but on feeling, and feeling, unexamined, is the great deceiver. Accurate thinking demands that you challenge every assumption, even your own. It demands that you separate evidence from emotion, cause from coincidence, and possibility from probability. The disciplined mind asks, is this true? How do I know? What facts support it? What emotion is influencing it? When you think accurately, you eliminate wasted effort. You stop solving problems that do not exist and fearing outcomes that will never occur. You direct your energy toward reality, not fantasy. This is why accurate thinking multiplies results. It converts mental chaos into strategic clarity. The undisciplined mind spends its hours reacting to illusions. The disciplined mind spends its hours designing solutions. The first is busy. The second is effective. Accurate thinking also demands that you guard your sources of information. As Hill once said, opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has one, but few are worth adopting. The mind that listens to every voice soon loses its own. Choose your sources with precision. Seek facts, not noise. Wisdom, not popularity. Be cautious of those who appeal to emotion instead of reason. Emotion manipulates. Logic liberates. Truth is never found in the crowd's excitement, but in the calm analysis of evidence. Remember, your results reflect the accuracy of your thinking. If your outcomes are chaotic, your thoughts are unclear. If your results are inconsistent, your standards are unstable. The disciplined thinker adjusts his mind before he adjusts his method. He knows that no problem can be solved on the same level of thought that created it. Therefore, he refines his mind daily through study, reflection, and deliberate silence, for silence is the workshop of clarity. The man who masters accurate thinking becomes immune to manipulation. He cannot be seduced by flattery or intimidated by fear. He judges everything by principle, not popularity. He moves with reason, not emotion. Such a man becomes a leader by natural law, for in a world addicted to noise, calm clarity is irresistible. But accurate thinking requires courage, the courage to face reality without distortion. Most people prefer pleasant lies to uncomfortable truths. They cling to excuses because truth demands responsibility. But success demands truth. The man who cannot look at himself honestly will never grow. He will rationalize failure instead of learning from it. He will waste time defending weakness instead of strengthening it. The first step to mastery is ruthless self-honesty. Ask yourself, what habits waste my time? What excuses defend my mediocrity? What emotions control my actions? What beliefs limit my progress? Until you answer these questions without flattery or denial, you remain in the prison of illusion. The truth may sting, but it frees. Illusion may comfort, but it kills. The wise man would rather face the pain of truth than the peace of a lie. For truth, once faced, can be changed, but a lie cannot. This is inner authority, the ability to stand on your own judgment, to think for yourself, to command your life by principle rather than approval. Most people surrender their authority to the crowd. They live by what others think, fear what others say, and chase what others chase. They seek validation instead of direction. But the master of his mind answers to one court only, the court of his conscience. He knows that success built on imitation is failure in disguise. To build inner authority, you must learn to trust your reason, to verify through experience, and to act in alignment with principle, even when alone. The masses seek comfort in agreement. The disciplined seek strength in accuracy. You must be willing to stand apart, to be misunderstood, to be mocked by those who cannot comprehend your path. Greatness is never found in the majority. It is found in the minority of those who think independently, act deliberately, and live purposefully. There will be times when your clarity isolates you. You will look around and see people indulging in distraction, celebrating triviality, wasting their precious hours as though life were infinite. You will feel the pull to join them, to lower your focus, to dim your light, to escape the burden of purpose, but resist it. For those who cannot command themselves will always resent those who can. Detachment is not loneliness, it is leadership. You walk alone only until others are ready to walk with you at your level of mastery. When you reach this stage, life begins to obey you. Circumstances bend to your thought. People sense your composure and are drawn to your certainty. Opportunities appear where once there was confusion. The disciplined mind becomes magnetic, for it vibrates with order in a world of disorder. This is not superstition, it is the law of vibration. Like attracts like. The calm attracts clarity. The focused attract opportunity. The self-governed attract trust. Every hour you spend in emotional turbulence repels success. Every hour you spend in calm focus attracts it. The universe rewards those who have earned control over themselves. This is why the rich grow richer, the disciplined grow freer, and the strong grow stronger. They have mastered the unseen law of internal alignment. They waste nothing. They direct everything. The sixth and final way to stop wasting time and start winning is action in harmony with purpose. Action without purpose is motion. Motion without direction is waste. The world is filled with people who are busy but not progressing. They mistake activity for accomplishment. They run in circles, producing noise instead of results. True success requires not more motion but more meaning. Action in harmony with purpose means every step you take is aligned with your ultimate goal. You no longer act from impulse or pressure, but from design. You no longer chase every opportunity, but evaluate each by its contribution to your definite aim. You become selective, deliberate, precise. The undisciplined man acts from urgency. The disciplined man acts from clarity. When thought, emotion, and purpose are aligned, action becomes inevitable. You no longer rely on motivation, for the machinery of your mind has been set in motion. Your purpose commands your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions fuel your action, and your action produces results. This is the true cycle of mastery, a perfect harmony of inner forces producing external triumph. If you have ever wondered why some people accomplish in 10 years what others fail to do in a lifetime, it is because they waste nothing. They waste no time, no emotion, no energy, no thought. Every hour of their day is an investment in the fulfillment of purpose. They may rest, but even rest is strategic. They may fail, but even failure is analyzed and transformed into wisdom. They are deliberate in everything. You, too, can live this way, but it begins with decision. Not the fleeting wish of comfort, but the resolute decision of command. Decide today that you will no longer waste the sacred resource of time. Decide that you will think before reacting, plan before moving, and discipline before drifting. Decide that you will no longer seek approval, for you are already appointed as the ruler of your own mind. When you make this decision, everything changes. Your perception sharpens, your emotions obey, your confidence solidifies. You begin to feel the power of order, the quiet strength that comes from knowing you are in control. That strength will become your fortress against distraction, your weapon against doubt, your compass in chaos. Each law feeds the other. Together they form the architecture of mastery, the inner citadel from which you will rule your world. And so I say to you, life is not waiting to bless the unprepared. It rewards only those who have prepared their minds to receive it. If you master your emotions, your time, your discipline, your thinking, you become unstoppable. The power that shapes destiny is already within you. You need only command it. Rise each day with definiteness of purpose. Guard your attention as you would your treasure. Speak only what strengthens your resolve. Think only what serves your vision. Feel only what empowers your creation. And act only when thought and purpose are aligned. Do this, and time itself will bend to your command. And when that day comes, when you have mastered emotion, disciplined thought, and purposeful action, you will understand what true victory means. It is not the conquest of others, but the conquest of self. It is not the accumulation of wealth, but the realization of power. It is not the applause of the crowd, but the quiet certainty within that says, I am no longer a slave to time, but its master. That is the moment when you stop wasting time. That is the moment when you start winning. And now, as the echoes of this truth settle into the quiet of your mind, remember this: time is the mirror of your discipline. It reflects without bias, records without mercy, rewards without favoritism. The hours you master will build your kingdom. The hours you waste will build your prison. There is no in-between. Stand therefore in full awareness of your power. Let every breath remind you that control begins here in thought, in calmness, in decision. Waste nothing, regret nothing, fear nothing. For the man who governs himself has already conquered the world. Walk with the certainty of purpose, the steadiness of calm, the quiet fire of discipline. Let your silence speak louder than noise, your patience stronger than haste, your focus deeper than fear. Move forward as one who knows that destiny is not found, it is forged. And when you reach the summit of your effort, when the world asks how you did it, you will not need to explain. You will simply stand composed, clear, victorious, and the answer will be written in the calmness of your eyes. That is the mark of a master. That is the sign of one who no longer wastes time. That is how winning begins and never ends.